And welcome to the WAVIT podcast recap, where we discuss the latest WAVIT podcast.
We're here to offer women in AV and IT valuable resources for your professional development. I'm Carol Feely-Vario, and I'm a founding member of WAVIT. I'm a project manager with 20 years experience in the construction and AV industries, and I'm currently a senior program manager at Diversified.
Hi, my name is Caroline Dunn. I'm Vice President of Marketing at LaCiga. Now, we're here to recap episode number 8 with titled hosts Lex Evans and Chrissy Sarah.
And the guest this week was Ty Hawley, the VP of Sales and Marketing at Symmetrics.
Now, in this episode, I really encourage you to go back and watch the entire episode because they covered a bunch of different topics, from imposter syndrome to volunteering at work and kind of finding your niche, you're finding your, realizing your skill set, how to get promoted, false narrative, resilience, confidence, and spoiler alert. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something that Ty said in the episode that you're gonna have to go watch the episode to find out why she said this. But her catchphrase in the episode was, "I didn't choose this thug life." So, with that said, let's talk about what really stood out in this episode to me. I think this is an important thing for us to discuss, is getting laid off. I've been laid off, and Carol, I think you went through this last year, and I would love for you to share your experience. But spoiler alert on Carol, she is in a much better place right now, and she's with Diversified, and I think everything worked out for the best. But Carol, I would love for you to share your story.
Well, I think, there were a lot of really great things to touch upon. I mean, I know currently we're seeing a lot of shift in our industry. We're seeing a lot of changes and a lot of uncertainty. And we're seeing some wonderful people with an open to hire banner on LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
And getting laid off is tough. And I've been laid off previously. I mean, working in construction and AV for as long as I have, it's a very cyclical industry. We know that things are going to move and they're going to ebb and they're going to flow and then they're going to rotate and then it kind of goes around. So it's like being in the wash cycle. But to go back to what Chrissy Sarah had said, it is traumatic. It's trauma. Being laid off is trauma, right? It's rejection. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes
trauma. The key word is trauma.
Trauma.
It's a business decision,
right?
That is driven by money, but emotionally, it could, for some people, it causes us trauma.
And I think we could say, oh, it's fine. We knew it was coming. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, right? Like, you were basically told that you are no longer needed, right? And that just doesn't feel good. But it's not hopeless. I think it's really important to remember that you leverage your network, right? And that's one of the things about the industry, particularly the AV industry, is it is so close and it is so tight. And there's a lot of people who want to help you, right? And there's a lot of people who want to build up. And within days of changing the open to work banner, and posting on LinkedIn that I had been let go, I got tons of messages from people, messages of support, which are incredibly helpful. If people are like, "Hey, I'll keep my eyes open for you." Amazing. Thank you. Like, people were like, "Hey, I have positions open." I was getting calls. "Hey, someone called me and saw that you just got laid off. Here's this, like, I have a lead on this thing." And you can apply to hundreds of jobs. I've never heard back from a job I've applied for. All of my work I've ever really gotten from someone I knew, from someone I was referred to. And it's not because, I'm not bad at interviews or anything like that. It's just, there's so
I'm bad
many
at interviews.
I'm pretty good about them. But I think there's such a saturation of people applying for jobs that are posted, especially jobs that are posted on LinkedIn. And when you start applying for more leadership level jobs, those jobs become more scarce, or those opportunities become less scarce, and you tend to hire people, right? So, you have to kind of get over the fear of networking. You have to kind of get over the reliance on other people. But part of being resilient is leaning on your community, right? You can't just, Milton, I think, said it, "No man is an island. No woman is either." Right? Like, and that's one of the things that I think that I love being a woman is that we know how to build community inherently. We do that no matter what,
That's
and
our advantage.
it really is. It's like a superpower, and being able to lean into that, and friends would be like, "Hey, let's go out to lunch," and like my best girlfriends like bought me a massage gift certificate because they knew I was so stressed out about getting laid off, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like people just kind of swoop in and let people help you. Let them swoop in. It doesn't make you weak, right? That
No,
doesn't mean,
absolutely not.
the help and the support does not make you weak. And that's kind of leads into something else that Ty was talking about was this false narrative. We can talk ourselves out of so many things. We can talk ourselves out of asking for the raise. We can talk ourselves out of giving honest feedback. We can talk ourselves out of listening to honest feedback. Um,
Yes.
we can really justify things in our brain, but our brain is a vacuum, right? When it comes to these sorts of things, like Ty had said, she said that she was the least qualified person in the room. Absolutely not. Her strengths are different. Maybe her strength isn't that she's male, right? Like,
Or maybe she was having some imposter syndrome when she
right?
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
we've
want to
we've
go
talked about
back.
imposter syndrome before and how it
Hmm.
really starts to come into play in women in their early 20s.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I mean, I still get it. We were talking about walking, it's intimidating for me to walk around like Infocom, right? Walking around the floor of Infocom. I
Hmm.
stand out, right?
Because
I'm
you're tall.
tall, right?
Yes.
I'm like 6 feet tall and I stand out and people will look and in my head, people are like, oh, what is she doing here? But that's not what people are saying. Nobody cares, right? So
Is that perhaps a false narrative that you've made
it
up
is
in your head?
5,000% a false narrative, right? That like in my head, I've justified why people are looking at me, right? And maybe it's because like maybe I was having a good hair day. Maybe they were like, wow, I wonder, like
Yeah, that more,
who knows?
yeah, I would be more
Right.
apt to believe that. Or
Right.
is she a really important person that we need to try to sell to? Is she a decision maker? I think
Right.
that's what I work the booth, so that's what
You
I'm
know.
looking,
Yeah.
for when I'm working at the booth. Is that person a decision maker? Can they write a check to buy stuff from my company?
And
That is number numero uno
and I
on.
and I went to Catholic school and I stand up straight with my shoulders back, right? Like maybe
Yes.
that just cuts a different kind of a posture, right? So like
No, when you're tall,
yeah,
we think you're a decision maker, and we want you to write us a check.
interesting, right? And in my head, I'm like, they don't think I belong here, right? So like what a silly thing. But that
I
false
know.
narrative is, we write it ourselves. And, like Chrissy said, what if I hadn't thought so much about it? What if I just did it? Right. Like, and I think coming to terms with that false narrative, the false narratives that we tell ourselves and trying to be a little more cognizant of it, it shows a lot of emotional intelligence because we're stopped being so internal and so isolated. But the second trauma hits, like a layoff, it's very easy to get back into your own head like that,
Yes,
and
that's what happens because, yeah, you get laid off and you start internalizing that self-worth, and then those false narratives come through, and yeah, it can snowball effect. So let's play a clip from the actual podcast talking about Ty talking about her false narratives. And I thought this was really powerful.
It's easy to give someone else a pep talk, but, how do we do it for ourselves? For me, it was realizing I had a false narrative
Ooh,
in
I
my
love that.
mind
Right.
and challenging that, which took a long time. It wasn't like all of a sudden I'm like, nah, I don't feel that way anymore. It's like constantly like, wait, that seems like a thought. Like, is that true or not? Like, you know, to say you don't know what you're doing, that's not true.
Right.
You do know what you're doing.
Little bit of
Okay,
insight
yeah.
here. I say I'm not good at this all the time, and Caroline Dunn makes me stop and repeat that I am good at this. So I will
we
give my
we
hype
have a
woman
new
credit.
rule on the podcast, which is you're
One
not allowed to
rule.
say that, and every
I'm
time
not
you
allowed
say
to
it,
say I'm not good
yeah,
at this.
that you get called out for it. But I like that she became more introspective. She was like,
Yeah.
okay, I said something. Let me think about what I just said, and did I just make that up in my head? And just call herself out. You don't have to. I mean, yeah, here on the podcast, we call each other out just, in front of
Yeah,
everybody.
makes
But
sense. Yeah.
maybe internally, we could call yourself out and be like, okay, I just said that. Is that true? Did I just make that up? Am I just having imposter syndrome situation? Do I know what I'm doing? Yes, I do. This is my job. I earned this job. I've been doing this job. For me, I've been in my job for 4 years. I mean, do I know every single thing? Perhaps not. But hey, do I know what I'm doing? Did I show up today? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the other question is why? Why did I tell myself that? Right? Is it because I'm trying to sort of blend into the surroundings? I'm trying not to be too, out in front? Is it because I'm trying to downplay my achievements because I feel like other people may, you know what I mean? Like, why did you say, why did you say that you're not good at this when you are? Is it because you're the only
Yeah.
woman in the room and you're not trying to be big?
Yeah, because we're taught to be small.
Because we're taught to be
And
small, right? And take up
mhm,
space, right? So be big, take
mhm,
up space, right?
yes. The other thing that Ty said in this clip that was really powerful to me is easier said than done.
Mhm.
So she didn't overnight realize that she was doing this to herself, or overnight change her behavior, or overnight get introspective. This was kind of something that evolved over time. So, as we're trying to give you the best resources here at WAVIT, I think the other side of it is hey, I can't change overnight. We're not
Mhm.
expecting you to change overnight. I think what's important to say is hey, I want to get better. And one of the things I can do to myself to get better is to be introspective and say, all right, why did I just say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing when I actually do know what I'm doing?
Mhm.
Why am I, being small? As you were saying, what the whys, and then kind of work through that in a journey to get to, hey, I'm in a room, I'm in the meeting, I deserve to be in this meeting, I earned my spot here, I earned this job, and now, okay, I'm gonna take up space. It's not an overnight thing.
No, bravery is a long learned lesson. I say that a lot, especially in project management. You have to be really brave to be a project manager. You have to go in there and be afraid to be wrong. And you can't be afraid to make decisions because something might be the wrong decision. You just make a decision. You have to go, right? Like, and you can't be afraid to speak up and to lead the team. As a project manager, you are inherently a leader. And it kind of plays into my Scorpio-ness here, right? Like I'm sort of inherently like that. And I always was, but I'm also, an introverted leader. So here's to add to the chaos, right? Like is to two elements. But
You've got a lot of you got
I
you
got a
got a
lot of
lot of
things
stuff
going
going
on.
on here,
Right.
and
Right.
and some of them kind of go,
Inherently clash. Right.
clash.
Right.
Yes,
But
for me, I look at men and they're not afraid to be wrong. They're not afraid to walk into a room and say this is it, and then just be totally wrong about it.
yeah,
Why should I be?
right. Right. I mean, I had it's taken me a very long time, but I stopped apologizing in emails. Hey, sorry this took so long. Sorry this took so long, right? Stop using exclamation
Yeah.
points as much as I do. Why should I have to, right? Like if I want to use an exclamation point, I use the damn exclamation point. Look, right? But
Hmm.
like, but these are behaviors, right? And these are behaviors that we've been conditioned to. And how do you uncondition yourself to a behavior? Um, it's not an easy process. And like I said, the first step of it is to be brave, and bravery takes a little practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not overnight. You're not going to change overnight. It's easier said than done. Yes, we want to be better. We want to go on this journey, and we need to be brave.
Could you imagine
So
how wild the world would be if we could change overnight?
but somehow we've set that expectation upon ourselves. I'm going to change overnight. I've never seen anybody change overnight. So I don't know why we've,
Yeah.
created these really odd expectations for ourselves. There's something really important that you said about getting laid off. I want to give ourselves, men or women who get laid off, I want to give everybody permission to have a moment to just relax. Is it, yeah, you're not making money on unemployment. You're not going to get rich off unemployment, but are you putting too much pressure on yourself for that next role? Or do you need a minute
Yeah.
to reflect, to do something else, try out something else, to just sit at home and just have a stay at home vacation for just a minute?
It will take time. even with all the resources that I, was availed to, it still took months, right, for me to step into a new role, and be patient with yourself on that. And if you need to take a job, doing retail or doing food service, take it. Take it. There's no shame in making ends meet, right? And we know state unemployment is never enough to support, and I have a family and I have a home, right? And like that's not enough.
A
But
mortgage. I got a mortgage.
I got a mortgage, right? So like, but that's okay, right? Nothing in this life is permanent, right? Your job is not permanent.
Nope.
No circumstance is permanent. Good or bad, really, at the same time, right? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but like it will take time, and give yourself the grace to take a
Yes.
breath, right?
Thank you.
Give yourself a
Give
grace.
yourself
And you
the
know what?
grace. Perfect.
Open up your underwear drawer, clean out the stuff, open up your sock drawer, clear that out, look at your closet, donate some stuff. You're going to feel so good, and your life is going to feel lighter when you're given the opportunity to just take stock of what you have. It doesn't mean you need to redo your deck and do the roof and get, like those things cost money, but just sitting down and taking some time with your things and your surroundings and just making it a little bit clearer, a little bit nicer, a little less cluttered really goes a long way in helping your mental state through those stages. It's hard work.
Absolutely.
It sucks, but you'll get through it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Let's talk about book recommendations. My book recommendation is Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. This is, I will link to it down below, but this is Shonda Rhimes. This is kind of funny because she's an extremely successful woman. And she wrote this book and she's like, I say no to everything. And so, and then my family makes fun of me for saying no to everything. She's producer of like the entire Thursday night, okay, at this point in her life. And she's like, okay, you're a yes. And she talked about how, how more enriched she was after she did that. Just, you don't have to read the whole book. You can just look at the title and go, all right, what if for 1 year I said yes to opportunities that got me out of my comfort zone, that weren't things that I would normally say yes to. So I was, this is years ago, I was doing my YouTube channel and I was approached by the editor in chief of Tom's Hardware to freelance. And basically it was a journalism gig. And I had taken one English class in my entire, college career, undergrad. So I did not. I was that was not. I had no journalism experience whatsoever. This was completely outside my comfort zone. But it was a year of yes. So I said yes. I learned so much about marketing. I learned things about journalism, about media, PR that I did not know before.
Practical knowledge. Yeah.
Yes. But I
Yeah.
also learned about life as a journalist, how it really works. I'm going to say yes to something I normally wouldn't, or just completely outside my comfort zone. And I try to do that now. I try to think about, hey, is this outside my comfort zone? Is this going to stretch me? Am I going to grow from this? And if the answer is yes, then my answer is yes.
That's a great way of learning new ways of thinking, right? And having the opportunity to change those behaviors. Why am I saying no to everything? Right? Let me just try saying yes and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. There could be something, for me on the other side.
Yeah.
So, Carol, I think you have a book recommendation as well. And I'm going to throw that up on the screen right now.
So my recommendation here is Alice Updike Skinnell's Building Resilience When There's No Going Back to the Way Things Were. This is really, this was really impactful to me because no matter what age you are, right, any experience can kind of throw you off. You can never go back, right? It's that sort of, it's like those teenage 80s movies, right? Like you can't go back to that, right? There's no nostalgia. It's nostalgia. We don't have time machines. We can't go back to the way things were, right? You have to move on with what you've got now. And it's good tips for how to do that and how to get through it, right? You can't get past it. You can't really get around it. You just have to get through it. And I found this was pretty helpful for me over the last year. It's been an interesting year, certainly in my existence. But so that would be my main book recommendations: Building Resilience from Alice Updike Skinnell.
Thank you, Carol. Excellent book recommendation. So, you got kind of the fun book recommendation for me and the serious book recommendation for
Yeah,
Carol today. Yeah, usually Carol does all of the book recommendations because she's the reader. That is pretty much it for our recap of episode 8. We are here to bring you the best resources for women in AV and IT.
And please subscribe to the WAVIT podcast so you don't miss a thing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.